Oh my God!
Magnus, it started incredibly well for you. The first game against Gukesh, you got to this position that I have on the board, and you came up with a move. I saw bishop f4 from your game with Gukesh, the first game that you played, and you forced him to play knight h1, and I thought that was great. And, well, you just played fabulous the first 4 rounds. It just looked like you're going to do a perfect sweep.
Yeah, it was definitely quite similar to my game against him in Norway Chess, and I was thinking about it during the game that if I blow this one, then I don't know what to do. But yeah, of course it feels really good to win those kind of clean strategic games, especially with the black pieces, because you don't get those very, very often. It's much more common that there's some back and forth and so on, but this one was just very, very clean, and he didn't really get any real chances. And then
sure. But Magnus has made that capture, and he has pushed the pawn advance 1 square up. He's prepared to double his rooks on the B line. You're going to have to watch that. And at any moment, maybe a C3 hit. The bishop is going to enter the game, that dark squared bishop. I really like black's position now. White is in pure defense mode with no sincere plan except that defensive setup you're talking about, Yasser. His pawns are just stifled.
Yeah, exactly.
The E and D pawns are not going anywhere. And the normal Rillo plan, look at White's pieces.
No, the knight on G3, unfortunately, has no future on that square. All the advance points are well protected. If I'm in Gukesh's position, I'm bringing the knight back to E2. So first of all, to C3, I can blockade this pawn to begin with. But I'm really not thinking wholly defensively. I'm thinking I blockade, but I also want to jump to the B5 square. But at the moment, Gukesh is, okay, I think we do have a move.
We do.
He played queen C1. Okay, that does sidestep what you were saying, Maurice, about the doubling of the rooks. But now I'm not happy about that move.
Yeah, so he's also just saying to your bishop, don't go anywhere because the queen is lining up on that pawn. So maybe he will be able to play a move like
rook
C2, curtail the ambitions of this pawn, and maybe even get an Alekhine's gun if he can sneak his rook up and get this position and really test that pawn. Why are you there? Because this knight could also come back eventually and attack the pawn as well. I'm not a fan, though, of the way his pieces are so jumbled at the moment. If he could get all those moves I just said, oh, wonderful. Just Magnus, don't do anything. But here we go.
Rook C8, intimating that even C3. Whoa! I was just about to say, you want to keep the pawn on H6 protected, so I was expecting King G7, because I really, really thought that Magnus's intention was to put his bishop on C5. Not true. What Magnus really wants to do now is play knight to E8 and knight to D6. With his knight on D6, it will be blockading this pass pawn. This bishop will be playing defensive work, and then Magnus will be saying, I've got a passer. What do you got? So knight E8 to D6, the blockade is on Magnus's agenda.
Now, Yasser,
4 minutes to 4 minutes.
James, our buddy Yasser here is one of the great chess explainers of all time. If you don't have his book on the winning chess series, then you're deficit in your library. Go out and get it right here, right now. But one thing he's mistaken on is his evaluation of chess books. and that's Nimzovich is my sister. And Nimzovich used to talk about overprotection. And this pawn right now It is not attacked 4 times, but it is being defended 4 times. And Nasser even suggested, let's get a knight in the action to defend it 5 times, so white doesn't even dream of attacking this pawn, because then all of black's pieces will be released. Anyone can leave with the overt protection. Now, I know, Nasser, I'm chiding him, of course, but...
What are you, Nimzovich's agent? Get out of here.
But we do see that is a central element in the game right now, but there goes Magnus playing that move you mentioned to get the pawn out of danger on h5.
Yeah, Christmas is right around the corner.
Right.
Ship me.
I'm going to get him a first edition.
Exactly.
I don't think he quite understands what he's saying. By the way, the move h5 not only stops h4, h5 by white, but it does introduce this idea of bishop h6. You want to push that pawn, so you want to protect the promotion square. So that move, and look at this, everybody is coming. And again, I'm expecting the move knight to e8. And we see why the bishop is now on g7. The king would be lonely with everybody going queenside. Black's rook's on b4, rook on c8, queen on c7, bishop on a6. There's not that many defenders of black's king.
White would likely have to move his queen off of this square and go to the a1 square. He would likely have to do this at some point. But Magnus now playing a hyper-aggressive move away from the pawns.
Again, he's thinking about bishop
h6 is definitely his intention.
But check this out. Because this bishop on f1 is actually, it's not just hitting the pawn, it's actually blocking the pawn. Whoa. Is that a peshki I'm looking at?
I thought he had to play queen a1 to defend the a pawn, but Magnus now saying, I'm not interested in the pawn just yet. Let my queen eyeball your pawn on f2, and so your rook cannot leave. It's hard for white's knights to really figure out where they belong. I actually wanted this knight on g3 to just hop over to e3 square, right? If it could somehow make this move. But the way it's set up now with the queen and the knight, and then a bishop will show up here, and then this knight will be in a lot of trouble. But then what is the purpose of this piece? You also now are unable to move the knight to e2 because the queen is ready to capture on f2. So this knight is actually frozen on the square, and now white's pieces themselves are frozen.
Well, it's getting worse and worse. I remember a fantastic game that Magnus won against Ali Reza Firouzja in a Tata Steel in Vaikanze with exactly this type of play by Magnus. And there's even ideas of bishop h6, knight f2, and bishop e3 in the offing. Of course, we understand the rook at the moment, but you get the idea that this knight on g3 is not doing anything. Oh, I've got a really good move.
Make note, by the way, this rook was planning to come down to b1 as well and create more tactical ideas here.
Yeah, and I just realized that there's a worse situation in the offing. You move your queen, and how do you handle the move bishop f4? Just give me a move.
Knight again.
Give me a move.
I would have to play. I refuse to play knight h1, but what else?
I mean, I'm threatening to play bishop g3.
You're threatening to take the knight and exploit the fact that there's this pin on the diagonal. He's done it. This pin is nasty.
And the clock times.
As well, down to 122. Being thoroughly outplayed ever since he played the move d5. Gukesh. Ever since, Magnus has used it as a linchpin for aggression, opening up the game with c6, and Gukesh has been suffering and now down on the clock as well.
Yeah, Magnus grabbing hold of that advantage and refusing to let go at this point. A reminder to everybody at home, it's 3 points at stake for a win here. Only 1 point apiece in the case of a draw. So the players would be effectively sacrificing a point if they end up in that draw. But at this point, maybe that's what Gukesh is hoping for.
And there
Magnus,
it is. The knight is on h1. Sorry, the knight. This
Nimzovic,
like
knights on h1.
No, but we don't. No, we definitely don't like this. And here comes Magnus looking to undermine the blockaders again. My system, Nimzovic has. But
I was about to say the move rook b1 sure looked attractive.
But look at that last move. He played g3. That knight on h1 is crying right now. The other game, by the way, is Dead even. We don't expect anything to happen there. But that knight on h1, it's in tears.
Pathetic. Just a pathetic knight. No ifs, ands, or buts about that knight. That knight is just crying. Magnus is completely taking over. Queen d4.
Take us 3 moves to get that knight unlocked, right?
Oh,
and that's assuming no moves from Magnus.
Exactly.
Removing our f3 knight to d2, then the pawn push. Now the knight can finally breathe a bit.
But that
this is resigned. This is just terrible now.
Terrible.
How do you defend your rook?
Exactly.
Actually, how do you physically defend your rook?
If I go queen e1, rook b1 hurts. Remember that bishop patrols the diagonal, so you can't even play rook c1. If I trade, give me your queen.
Well, we do have rook takes at least.
But then the question is...
He's got 9 seconds of misery remaining.
Magnus is winning. There it is. What a beautiful game by Magnus.
Wow.
Congratulations to our tournament leader. We're going to switch to Fabi and Icaro.